Hey guys, so on today's episode of Mulattoes to Murder, I want to present a case to you of Johnathan Quiles. He has just been sentenced for the death of a 17-year-old girl. This case really is just disgusting, honestly. I can't even imagine what her family's going through, but it's something that definitely needs to be talked about. So I want to share the news clip with you first, and then I'll come back for commentary.
The jury came to that verdict in less than an hour, and they will be back here at the courthouse on Monday, and so will we, as they determine whether or not Johnathan Quiles would get the death penalty. It's been 5 years since Ayanna Sawyer disappeared from Terry Parker High School. Her body has never been found. Investigators say Quiles killed Ayanna because she was carrying his child and refused to have an abortion. The belief that Quiles was the father was backed up by two confessions presented during the trial, one to his brother and the other to jail informants on a secret recording.
Snapchat alone tells you there's a lot of sex going on between the defendant and IS under everybody's nose.
Quiles told his brother and informants he tried to strangle Sawyer but ended up shooting her at a junkyard where he worked. In closing arguments, the defense argued a body has never been found. First Coast News spoke with Sawyer's family attorney, John Phillips, after the verdict came down.
Ayanna's mother was saying thank you, not just to me, but to law enforcement and to the prosecutor, to the jury. And I think that's the message they wanted me to convey. Certainly the jury coming up with quick justice in less than an hour was powerful and meaningful.
So as you can see, he has been found guilty. She's 17 years old, and this relationship was going on for God knows how long. And he's just carrying on with it. But my thing is, you knew you were sleeping with a 17-year-old and you chose to kill her because she got pregnant. You didn't think, oh, let me stop having sexual relations with a child, because when the consequences of doing that happens, I'm gonna kill her. I don't want to hear he panicked or anything, because you went from strangling her to shooting her. So you knew this. Like, I'm so disgusted by this. And I'm so disgusted by men in general, or people in general, who do evil, vile things and then want to kill the person they're doing it to. And like, this hit very close, because as a kid who had someone pull a weapon on them because they were going to tell on them, it's saying to me how, like, these people think they're going to get away with it. Like, you really think that you're going to get away with this, you idiot? It's disgusting. Like, I just cannot imagine what this poor girl went through. And allegedly her sister went through it too. Because when I went through it, I was just like in utter shock. But like, this poor girl, actually, he went through voice. And now she doesn't get to live her life because this bum wants to touch little kids. I cannot stand it. I hope they do him in that prison. I really. So I'm going to go ahead and play this next clip from her sister. And I'm going to let you guys see that.
Correct. That's something you never told police. Not even to this day as you sit here right now. Correct?
I guess.
You were actually asked by your Aunt Naomi when allegations and accusations started coming up about your Uncle John having any sort of sexual relationship with your sister. You were asked by your aunt if he had done anything to you.
I was never asked by her.
You claim as you sit here that she never asked you if anything inappropriate happened between the two of you. Let me finish the question before you answer.
No, I would just ask that counsel not be argumentative with the witness.
So I'm so glad that lady stepped in, because my thing is, why are you being argumentative with a child about her sexual abuse? I gotta edit this out. About what happened to her. Because I cannot stand that. That's one thing I cannot stand. You sitting here getting an attitude or attacking a child, the victim. Like, what is wrong with you? And this is like, I don't care if it's an investigator or a lawyer. Why are you trying to intimidate a child? You can ask the questions without being like aggressive like that. I cannot stand nobody like that.
Judge, I was just trying to stop to make sure that the record was clear, but
I understand. I'm not faulting anybody. I'm just saying, just rephrase the question.
of course. You're claiming that your Aunt Naomi never asked you whether there was any sort of sexual encounters, interaction, or anything between you and Mr. Quiles.
I don't recall her asking.
You don't recall her asking that question at all.
No,
Is your statement that she did not ask you that?
not that aunt.
Not that what?
Aunt.
Other aunts asked you though,
Yes,
and you told them nothing ever happened.
correct.
All right, let me talk about the first encounter that you described. You stated you're at the beach, that you believe it was yourself, your sister, IS, and Mr. Quiles and his daughter, NQ, correct?
Correct.
But in fact, your brothers were there as well, KM and SG, correct?
No,
You don't recall telling police that your brothers were also present at that beach.
I don't recall them being there.
All of these people are on the beach, and you're claiming that just you were in the water when this sexual encounter occurred.
In that area, yes.
So they were all sitting on the beach, didn't notice anything going on in the water whatsoever.
No,
You never told any police officer about this beach incident.
I don't recall.
It wasn't until you were in your deposition in February of 2022, 3 years.
Obviously, she's a fucking child, bitch. Like, what do you expect her to do? They act like it's abnormal for victims to withhold something or be so shocked that you would do this at a beach. And mind you, yes, they will absolutely do this because that's how people like this are. They do it in the open to prove to you, like, see, no one's gonna stop me. This happened to me. It's happened to so many other victims. If you just sit there and be like, oh my God, so you ain't saying nothing to the police, you ain't saying nothing to nobody else, and you're supposed to be a professional. I don't care if it's her job to win the case. That is a child. What is wrong with you?
More than 3 years later that you disclosed this beach incident, correct?
I'm not good with dates.
It wasn't any time close to when this incident occurred. And it definitely wasn't in that 4 months after conversation that you had with Detective Milowicki where you came clean about everything that happened between you and Mr. Quiles, correct?
Correct.
As far as the incident that you described that happened in the van, today you testified that you were headed to Winn-Dixie and that he took you to some undisclosed or isolated area. You don't recall where that was or anything along those lines.
No,
You recall telling police that at one point it was in the abandoned parking lot near the Winn-Dixie.
I don't recall.
Do you recall telling police that at some point his daughter was in the car with you during some incident?
I don't recall.
Honestly, a lot of people going to see this and be like, she keeps saying she don't recall. And they're going to take that as like, she's lying. But as someone who's been in this situation, you have someone basically treating you like you're a liar when you're trying to disclose to them something as traumatic as this. She's fucking irritated right now. I'm telling you, she's irritated and she's trying not to cuss that woman out in that courtroom. And I just feel like, I don't know what's wrong with the justice system, but there has to be a better way to go about it than to treat someone like this. Like, you can literally interrogate somebody and get them to confess without ever being hostile like this. Like, that is still a victim and that's still a child. I would never understand how someone can, I don't care what my profession is, I would never be able to do that to someone. I know how to get the truth out of somebody without making them feel disgusting like that. Like, I hate people like.
Does Mr. Quiles have any, since you have testified that you all have had these sexual encounters, does Mr. Quiles have any distinct markings on his genitalia?
Not that I recall.
You stated this throughout your testimony on direct, but I'm going to ask it to you again. At no point in time throughout this time period that you allege that these incidents occurred, did you ever mention anything to anyone, correct?
No,
Even in this incident that you allege where your Aunt Naomi was awake and within talking distance, you never said anything to her.
no,
You never yelled out. You never did anything along those lines.
no,
Even after your sister went missing, there were allegations of sexual abuse of your sister. You still, even then when you were asked, did not tell the truth about what you now claim happened, correct?
correct.
That's a serious situation going on if your sister's not being found, correct?
You think?
And you still didn't think that, hey, maybe I should disclose this information so that they know, hey, Mr. Quiles, he's been sexually abusing me and my sister. But you didn't think to do that, did you?
No.
You would agree that there has been little to no consistency in what you allege to have happened between you and Mr. Quiles.
No.
You started off saying he never did anything to you, correct?
Correct.
You changed, though, to what happened, when it happened, how many times it happened, who was there when these things happened. So many details of these incidents that you laid out vary depending on the day that you're at. Got to be a lot to keep a track of, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further.
SS, do you go about your life wanting to think about the defendant sexually abusing?
She gives off one of those, I'm not going to say she is, but one of those like lawyers who is way too into her client. Because why are you being so aggressive towards a child? To where a counsel has to tell you and the judge has to tell you to relax. Yeah, their statements change when they're uncomfortable. It's common fucking sense. And maybe she would be more open to talking to you if you weren't so damn aggressive. But that's what they want. They want you to not be comfortable talking so that your statement will fall through. I'm glad your little client there still got charged with murder. And I hope he does get the death penalty for what he did.
You?
No.
Is in fact something that you don't even want to think about?
Correct.
Do you want to forget about it?
Yes.
And did you ever tell anyone what the defendant did to you?
No.
Did you ever go to your mom and tell her?
No.
Were you in fact the one that got confronted about it?
Yes.
And was that because your mom had found something?
Yes.
And based upon that, did your mom then confront you?
Yes.
Had your mom not found something and had not confronted you, would you have told?
No.
Were you afraid to tell anything?
Yes.
So you did not freely tell this information, did you?
No, I didn't.
Were you also protecting your sister?
Yes.
And why?
I thought she was going with my grandma and
Can you? I know it's hard. Take a moment and breathe. I just want to make sure we all hear you, okay?
I thought she was going with my grandma and I wanted to keep our friendship.
Did you think if you told about the sexual abuse that your sister would be mad at you?
Yeah.
And did you want to keep her secret from the world?
Yeah.
If you could.
Yeah.
But you couldn't, could you?
No.
Your mom found out.
Yeah.
Did your mom ask you any details about the sexual abuse when this first came out, when your mom found out?
Yeah.
Did you want to tell her much?
No.
And did your mom respect that?
Yes.
And this was your mom finding out about the defendant sexually abusing you. That happened while your sister is missing. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
This poor girl is probably blaming herself and trying to pretend it didn't happen because that means that her not telling and her sister not telling led to this, which is not true. This is not their fault whatsoever. But in that moment, as a child, she's probably thinking like, if I would have just said something, if I would have just said something, if I would have just, she's probably still doing that. And the thing about it is that's a obvious reason why she didn't say anything. So yeah, like I know it's his lawyer's job to try to get him off, but you could have went about that differently.
Why in April were you ready to tell more about the sexual abuse?
She wasn't coming back.
Do you need a moment?
Okay.
I'm almost done, I promise. Is that when you knew you could break the promise to your sister?
Yeah.
And is that why you're willing to tell all about the defendant sexually abusing you?
Yeah.
Nothing further.
Ma'am, thank you for your testimony.
A warm welcome to our guest for this hour, retired NYPD executive and author of Once a Cop, Corey Pegues, and former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. Gentlemen, I want to say, wait. Did the defense just misstep? Because we know it is typical for a victim of sexual abuse to be groomed, embarrassed, maybe threatened, shamed, not to disclose. So when I hear cross-examination that frankly was aggressive against this victim, according to the victim's testimony on the stand, saying, well, you didn't tell your mother, did you? And it's a lot to keep track of, and you didn't tell anybody. Well, of course she didn't tell anybody. That's to be expected when you're a victim of this kind of sexual abuse. Corey, let me start with you, please.
Exactly. And like, guys, I'm watching this for the first time with you guys. So this is crazy. I'm pretty passionate about it, so there might be some cussing in here, but it's just like, how can I just don't, as a woman, as a man, I don't care what you are. If that was my job to be a lawyer, I'm not defending no rapist any damn way, but if it was my job to defend someone and there was a child on the stand, I could not stomach talking to them like that about them alleging abuse. I just could not. I don't know why are you being aggressive towards a child? It makes no sense.
Please.
Yes. Good afternoon to both of you. She was very brutal. It was a very brutal cross-examination, and I think it might backfire on her because she was very aggressive.
What did you think, Nima? Will it backfire? Was it aggressive from your perspective as a former federal prosecutor?
Ashley, I agree with you and Corey. I mean, it was shameful, victim shaming. You know, this is the psychology of an abuse victim, someone who has now lost her sister, and both her and her sister were sexually abused, at least allegedly, at the hands of their uncle, one of them becoming a murderer. So to go after a victim like that aggressively, I understand that defense attorneys have to do their job and advocate on behalf of their client. But personally, as someone who's prosecuted sex crimes, as someone who's represented victims of sexual assault and sexual abuse, it was shameful. And if I'm on that jury, I end up punishing that defendant because of how his lawyer treated that victim. I mean, I think it was over the top, and I really liked how the prosecution came back and redirected her and explained to the jury why, when you've been sexually abused by a close family member, you're not going to run to the police. You're not going to go tell your mom. I mean, this is unfortunately typical for these types of cases.
Do you think it requires now for the state to call an expert to testify about how a sex abuse victim responds, reacts, doesn't disclose, is shamed, is groomed, is threatened?
It absolutely does, because the thing about it is, as a victim, I can't even tell you how many people I did tell that didn't do anything. So it's like, you are battling with that. You don't know this girl's walk through life. She may have seen her cousin or somebody else tell and nothing happened. Or she just like, I don't want to destroy my family. I don't want to get my uncle arrested. I don't want to ruin my aunt's marriage. I like everything that could be going through her mind. And she told you she didn't want her sister to hate her. So like, what is wrong with people? And then the way she sat down, like, I don't know if you guys call it that, but the way she sat down, like, that's why I said she looks like a lawyer who's like too into her client. Like, you're really worked up about this. Like, girl, calm down. It's gross. Get a grip.
I mean, I'm a little infuriated by the way the cross-examination was handled. It's her decision. It's her strategy. But I have to say, when you hear someone explaining the details of the horrific abuse at the hands of her own uncle, it really, I think, is just not a good way to go. Nima, let's go reverse order. Let me start with you.
I agree, Ashley. I do call an expert, and there's plenty of them that'll testify about why victims don't come forward, why you don't have those contemporaneous reports. And like you said, I think anyone who's either been through this or knows someone who understands why sexual assault and sexual abuse, these are two of the most underreported crimes in this country. And it's really because of this. Victims are re-victimized again when they tell their story. They're accused of lying. They're accused of fabrication. They're cross-examined in this really aggressive manner. So, you know, I think from the prosecution's perspective, even though that was terrible for your victim witness, I think that it really did a disservice to the defense, because if I'm on that jury and if I'm watching here on court TV, I'm appalled that someone would treat a childhood victim of sexual abuse like this.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. All right, Corey, let me tap into your expertise and talk about the particular charges this defendant is facing and what some viewers are saying is a lack of evidence, because the sexual battery against Ayanna is one piece, but also 2 charges of murder, the murder of her as well as the murder of her unborn baby. But the defense says that
this is definitely a circumstantial evidence case, but the testimony of the brother is going to be vital to this. Their history any other witnesses that have seen them together or she disclosed the information to. This is a hard puzzle, but you can put the puzzle together and get the conviction.
Well,
and as he should be charged for the baby and the little girl. Like, what is wrong with you? And add on the charges for the sister. You was out here touching everybody. You need to be charged for everybody. It's crazy how these people will be in families just creeping. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I hate it. So this was apparently his cellmate. And we all know those cellmates like to cut a deal. So they will tell you real fast. But, I know some people like, sometimes they be lying. But yes, if he got good enough details, he ain't lying. If it's one thing I love, though, it's that those jail guys, those prisoners or whatever, they don't be playing about you raping kids. Because a lot of people are in those jail cells because they were touched as kids and it messed them up mentally. So they don't play that. Like, kids are off limits. So I'm glad he's here. Air his disgusting behind out.
First, tell us, what did you notice about him that caused you to ask him something? Did you notice anything by his outward appearance that drew your concern?
Something was like bothering him. He was looking down and he had sex with his niece.
All right. And did he say anything happened as a result of them having sex?
She became pregnant.
All right. Did he say her name at all, best you can recall?
No, sir.
All right. Did he say what, if anything, he wanted to do once she got pregnant?
He wanted her to get rid of the baby.
What, if anything, did he say about his wife finding out?
She would be very upset if she found out.
Did he mention whether he had any other children?
Yeah, he said he had a daughter and a newborn son at the time.
All right. Did he say whether his niece was wanting to get rid of the baby?
Yes, sir.
Did he, with respect to his niece, did there come a time period where she made the decision not to get rid of the baby? Did he tell you that?
Yes, sir.
All right. What, if anything, did he say with respect to when she decided to have the baby and not get rid of the baby?
He said she gonna she not gonna get rid of it. She gonna run away with the baby.
Did he tell you how he was going to try to get her to run away?
He was like, she was gonna run away, and she called him that morning, and he told her where to meet him at. And then when they met up, he just started choking her. And
go ahead.
Throw her body in the dumpster.
See, I don't know if he lied or not because his energy is really weird, but this happens a lot. So, like, when someone does a crime, especially this type of crime, right, like rape or murder, they can hold it for a while, but eventually they have to talk about it. Like, they can't hold it in, but for so long. So, it wouldn't surprise me if he did talk to somebody about it. But I'm not sure if he spoke to this man in particular about it.
Did he say how he was trying to get her to meet him up with him at work?
Yeah, it was a secret spot in his work spot.
Right? Tell her.
He just said, meet up at the spot. Then when they meet up, don't tell no one. Then when they met up, that's when he choked her. And then she said she wasn't dying. They pulled his gun out and shot her.
All right. Did he say where he pulled his gun out and shot her?
He said in the same spot they met up at.
What, if anything, did he tell you with what he did with her once he shot her?
He said just once he shot her, he threw her body in the dumpster.
You say where that dumpster was. Did he say he had told anybody else about this?
Right after he did, he said he called his brother.
Did he name his brother to you?
He ain't never say the name.
All right. Did he tell you he told his brother what he did?
Yes, sir.
Defendant tell you that this niece who was pregnant with his baby had a sister.
Yes, sir.
What, if anything, did he tell you was going on between him and that sister?
He said he was having sex with the sister too.
Now, Mr. Hatch, did you get moved out of the dorm shortly after this?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember approximately how long?
Probably like a month or two after that.
Did you decide to come forward with this information after that?
Yes, sir.
Anybody ever promise you anything in exchange for this testimony?
No, sir.
You're certain of that?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Will you tell this jury if you're expecting or hoping for anything in exchange for this? Are you hoping that a court would recognize this at a later date? Would you say that?
No, sir.
All right. Will you explain, lastly, sir, why you came forward? What prompted you to make the decision? I'm going to go tell the state attorney's office this. Why?
Because I was talking about it with a dude I was locked up with in Baker County, and he told me it was a good idea to come forward with the information.
And did that take you some weeks to do that?
Yes, sir.
Why are you helping out then? Just because he told you, or did you make the decision yourself?
I just felt like it was wrong and it was the right thing to do.
Yes, sir. One moment, Your Honor.
Now, I personally definitely believe that guy has ulterior motives. I think he wants a lighter sentencing, but I feel as though it does make sense that he didn't come forward until after he was transferred out of the pod for safety reasons. Also, he could have just asked to be transferred. He could have came forward and then asked to be transferred. But, I don't know how jailhouses be working. They might try to backstab him. Who knows? I feel like, what's his name, Johnathan? I feel like Johnathan definitely did come up with somebody, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, this testimony is the one I'm more inclined to believe. And not only that, I'm so proud of him for doing this, because a brother's bond and wanting to protect your brother is a real thing. And for him to go against that to protect this little girl and to get her justice just means so much. I'm so proud of him, honestly, for doing the right thing.
Same day. He then said that he took the young lady and he had her sitting in a vehicle. He picked her up. He had her sitting in a vehicle, waiting. He tried to strangle her. It didn't work out. He couldn't stomach it. And so then he later went and shot her in the chest. And then he proceeded to discard the body by taking the body and putting it transporting it into a dumpster and destroying the vehicle.
He also told the court that Quiles told him he wrapped her body in a carpet and then transported her to the dumpster place. And then he used the machine, and he knew when that dumpster would be picked up. He had it all planned out. He told his brother he'd been planning this for months. Incredibly disturbing. Now, we also heard other testimony that pointed to Quiles admitting to the crime. We want to start with Naomi Mobley. This is Quiles's ex-wife. She talks about when she started to see his behavior change.
There was a change in his behavior after she went missing. Prior to that, he was fidgety and nervous and always speaking about the fact that he could not get a hold of his brother. He was restless. After she went missing, then he slept like a baby. And I'm aware of this because I was very pregnant and I was up every hour on the hour to go to the bathroom as he slept like a baby.
Asked if she asked her niece about any sexual interaction with Quiles in the early 2018 year, and they denied it. She says she never saw anything inappropriate between Quiles and her nieces, and even going into the end of the year. Then after Quiles was arrested, he called her from jail and she asked him to tell her the truth. His response was, "I want to tell you the truth, but the people listening will take it the wrong way. Well, there were multiple people listening to what Quiles had to say, and that includes a jail inmate who was wearing a wire. But before we play that wire, Dan, now we want to play you a portion of that wire, but I need you to keep in mind that there are two other people in the cell with Quiles at the time of the recording, but we are only playing the portions where we can make out what one of the people said, and in addition to Quiles. Take a listen.
It's dirt. What you saw that? What happened there? It was over at the job. It's loud over there. Oh, you shot at the job and left it there overnight. You go to the wall where the blood was? Yeah, nah, it's dirt. You just scoop it up. Move it.
Several admissions were made on that wire, but it is kind of hard to hear. And a portion of that wire, he clearly claims that his brother is the reason that he is in jail, basically blaming the situation on him.
See, this idiot thought these were hood dudes who had the no snitching code, and they were gangsters because they were in prison. But and I mean this to all hood dudes, that is not real. The second someone can flip on you to save themselves, they will. Okay, and I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they wired up, because you're an idiot. And you're disgusting, and you belong in prison. And I hope he gets the double life sentences and all. I hate people like this. Like, you an idiot. What you think, because they're in prison that they're gonna, it's no snitching? You really believe that? That's what you get. And it's how it's your brother's fault that you're disgusting. Because he turned you in. He wasn't supposed to snitch on you. This is a gangster move to you. Killing little girls is a gangster move to you. People are so bummy. I can't. So I want to show you this picture. I believe this is his wedding, but I'm not sure, of course. But this is his family. So he seems to be very close. This is from his Facebook. He seems to be very close with his family. Correct? Like, this is him and his wife is what I believe to be their wedding, and his family or loved ones. This poor woman. She thinks she married this normal man, and here he is being a little predator. Disgusting. It's so hard to trust people. Like, now I want to show the closing arguments, and then I'll wrap it up.
Forget you're carrying our child, and you're oversensitive. I'll kill you and cry. You're stuck with me until you die. Shot her in the head? No. Heart. She just went into a bag. Several bags? No, 2. Just folded her. You know, adrenaline of strength of 10 men. She was dead. Her body went into a dumpster. I'm hoping the holiday and the rain will help at that landfill. That houses will be built over her by the time anyone realizes. So, ladies and gentlemen, go to the next one. We're asking you for Ayanna and the unborn child who is going to be named Hazel to find the defendant guilty of premeditated first-degree murder of IS. She was pregnant with his child, or the chance of being the father of the child.
So, like, I wonder if her family knew she was pregnant, but just didn't know it was his, because she was pregnant herself, but she's skinny, so it's kind of like, you know, she could have hid it if she wore hoodies and stuff. So, guys, this is the live verdict. This is how I found out about it, and honestly, I'm just happy he's going to prison, staying there.
State of Florida versus Johnathan Quiles, verdict count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. We find the defendant did actually possess and discharge a firearm during the commission of the offense. Verdict count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. We find the defendant actually possessed and discharged a firearm during the commission of the offense. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of engaging in an act that constitutes sexual battery upon or with a child 12 years of age or older, but younger than 18 years of age, by a person in a familial or custodial authority, as charged in the indictment. So say we all, that in Jacksonville, Duval County, Florida, signed by the foreperson, dated September 21st, 2023.
He was crying, but all this could have been avoided by not touching that little girl to begin with. So it's like you crying, but you did see yourself, and you just said little girl.
We, the jury, find Johnathan Quiles should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Signed and dated by the foreperson.